To you, Maria. I think it is incredibly courageous that you are continuing to tell your story in a very, very public way. It cannot be easy, and I'm very grateful for you being here with us tonight. So let me start just there, Maria.
Thank you, Jen, for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let me start by asking you, I mean, this nightmare has followed you for a very, very long time. I mean, decades. And I'm sure that Jeffrey Epstein's reemergence, I mean, all over the news has been incredibly painful. How are you? How are you doing? How are you digesting all of this?
Thank you for asking that. That's very thoughtful, because a lot of people aren't aware of every time his picture is on one of their podcasts or, and I've asked several people, can you please not just flash his picture everywhere, or Maxwell's, and not glamorize them? But thank you for asking that, because a lot of people aren't aware that re-traumatizes victims every time we have to see his face. And it's a case that has just never gone away. It just won't go away. And I need your audience to understand that, I reported this almost 3 decades ago. So a lot of people will say, oh, why is she just coming forward now? And they think it's political. And it's not. It's something I've been working on pretty much. I dedicated all of my youth to this. And so I'm doing it not just for me, but for the victims who are now deceased and the victims that are very much alive. And I want to get justice for all of them. I feel that for my little sister to have gone through what she went through and to have had to testify against Maxwell and then have to suffer, and there are others that I love very much who are suffering this right now about Maxwell. It's completely unacceptable. Why would Maxwell be given a voice when she is a convicted pedophile? It's been very difficult, and I appreciate the question. I appreciate you asking.
Of course, and I think we're all grateful for you having the courage to be here and tell your story and be out there. And let me ask you, because this is one of the reasons I think it's so important to hear from people like you who are so courageous. I mean, you and your sister, as you just referenced, Annie, were the first survivors to come forward and try to tell the authorities about what Epstein and his associates were doing. You first went to the NYPD in 1996, then the FBI. You said you felt like you weren't taken seriously.
Right.
You've repeated that. You were now suing the federal government, accusing it of negligence and failing to protect victims of sexual assault. And I just wanted our viewers to be aware of all of that and all the time you've spent on this and trying to get this story told. Tell us more about the story you told to the police.
Well, when I called, I told them I was reporting kind of an international pedophile, and I called it child pornography ring because they didn't call it CSAM yet. But that part is one of the most important parts to me, because some photographs that were personal photographs of mine that I used for working from, not to copy exactly, but they were anatomy studies for my art. And I was doing these series of paintings for the movie As Good as It Gets. This wasn't for me, it wasn't for Epstein, it was actually for a major producer. And because of being, held captive, I didn't get to finish that. But basically, those photographs are a permanent thing that Ghislaine Maxwell stole from the basement at Leslie Wexner's guest house. And those photographs are a permanent way that my sisters are being abused and that I'm being abused. And so when I told the federal government, I said, this really frightens me, because I believe if they did this to us, they're doing it to everyone. And I see a lot of children coming in, allegedly for Victoria's Secret modeling, or for modeling for Katie Ford. They had all these model scouts around them, Trump, all these people, and they were allegedly auditioning models. But for Victoria's Secret, the girls didn't have any breasts. I didn't understand. And so basically, it's been very an arduous journey over 29 years of just trying to get people to hear me. So I'm so grateful that you're bringing attention to this evening.
Nope. And we want you to be able to tell all the aspects of your story that it's so important for people to understand. And it wasn't you didn't only go to the FBI and the police back in the 90s. You also had an interview with agents in 2006. And one of our legal correspondents, Lisa Rubin, was able to obtain the FBI's notes from that interview. I'm just showing some of them right there on the screen. There are a ton of redactions in these notes, as you can see. And I know this was some time ago, But do you remember what you spoke to them about during
Yes.
this interview and what details you shared with them during this interview?
Yes. Yeah, so basically, I want to make it really clear because people don't understand this. My little sister was only 16, and she didn't go to the FBI in '96. I did that. And I protected my family because I didn't want anyone to know how dangerous this was. And so basically, after 1996, they literally just hung up and I heard nothing for 10 years. And then I got a knock on the door. I was in the woods of North Carolina, and there were these two agents standing there. And Agent Nesbitt Kirkendall said, we're here about your 1996 FBI report. And I was kind of shocked, and it's because I have so much trauma. I was kind of making jokes and trying to give them orange juice and cookies and, just make light of it. And it's so traumatic. Like, my sister was selling like products to them. We didn't know what to do with the FBI. We told them the entire story of what occurred with Ghislaine Maxwell being a sexual predator and predating children. She used to say, I need to go get the nubiles at 3:00 because the children were getting out of school. And of course, I would ask to quit. And I said, what is this? And she said, no. They're just models for Victoria's Secret, Maria. Just calm down, So basically, there was a lot of gaslighting that occurred. But in 2006, they hunted me down. And they asked me to testify in the federal trial in Florida. And then they gave the sweetheart deal. And so I never testified. And then when it came time to testify in this trial, I actually was in ICU and chemotherapy. And a lot of people say she didn't even get to testify. And I'm like, because I was incapacitated. But my sister did testify, and my mother. And our stories have never changed. They're very credible.
I did not realize
I just want my
that.
files.
Of course you do. And I didn't realize about your health journey too. You've been through a tremendous amount. You've also talked about a night in 1995 when you were at Jeffrey Epstein's office and Donald Trump came by and made a lewd comment, and then you overheard Epstein say to him, she's not for you. And we just told this story because you've told it publicly before.
Right.
And in response to that, and I want to ask you about that, but I just wanted to note that in response to that, a White House spokesperson responded saying, this is recycled old fake news of the highest order that was already peddled more than 6 years, concocted by Democrats and the liberal media, just like they did with the Russiagate scandal, which was just proven today. The president was never in his office. The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep. There is a lot packed in there, similar themes we've seen in other statements, I will say, but it's about you. What is your response to that?
Right. So, first of all, that's so insulting and disingenuous because I reported this in 1996. And I have to say, like, Donald Trump was a Democrat when I reported him. So him saying that this was a Republican thing, this is not a partisan thing. This is pedophilia. Anyone can be a pedophile. It's literally, unfortunately, it just happens to be a lot of Republicans. And that's a fact. And those same Republicans want to entertain Ghislaine Maxwell, like Tim Burchett wants to entertain her and flash her around and act like we victims should not be heard from. He didn't want to speak to me. He wanted to speak to Ghislaine and give her a voice in an audience. And my little sister is one of her victims, and so am I. So this is so damaging. And yes, I'm fighting 2 cancers, so I would like to be able to retire and have my FBI reports so that I can help bring accountability to everyone. It's not just me. I have the weight of all the young women on my shoulders right now.
You certainly do, and I am, again, grateful for you being here. We have to sneak in a very quick break. I have more questions for you.
Okay.
I hope you don't mind sticking around.
Okay.